In the days of King Solomon, the king of Persia fell terribly ill. He sought his advisors, who told him that the only way he would get better is if he drank the milk of a lioness. He sent a messenger to King Solomon, knowing if anyone knew how to procure such a remedy, only King Solomon would know. King Solomon got his right-hand man Benaiah, told him to take 10 goats and to go to a certain cave where a pride of lions was known to be. The first day, as soon as the lioness smelled something foreign in the air, Benaiah released the first goat. She immediately pounced on it and devoured it. Afterwards, Benaiah crept ever closer. Each day he did this, and each day he got closer, until eventually he was even able to play with the cubs of the lioness. Finally, on the 10th day, he released the last goat, to which again the lioness pounced on. Having now been fully sated, she was willing to let him milk her. He came back with a pail filled with milk to give to King Solomon, who in turn gave it to the messenger. The messenger started his way home, fully content with the mission having been successful. That night he had a strange dream. In the dream, each of his limbs was arguing with one another over who deserved honor for the successful mission. The eyes said, well, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have seen the cave. The hands said, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't be able to carry the pail. The legs said, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have got over to King Solomon to begin with. The heart said, if I didn't exist, we wouldn't have courage to do what we needed to do. The tongue finally spoke up, to which immediately all the limbs silenced. So, after waking up from the strange dream, the messenger continued on his way. As he came back, the king asked, what do you have for me? He says, well, I brought you the dog's milk like you asked. The king was furious. Immediately, he had him sentenced to death and thrown into the dungeon. The poor messenger couldn't understand how this happened to him. All his limbs started shouting at the tongue, how dare you ruin this for us? You're going to have us killed. He says, well, you're the ones that said that I'm not that important. Now you will have to eat your own words and admit the truth. Just like I got us in here, I can get us out. So, as he was about to be hung on the gallows, he asked in his last request to have an audience with the king one last time. Being that it was his last request, they granted it to him. So he said, why are you having me killed, king? He says, well, you said dog's milk. He says, don't you know where I come from? The word for dog and lioness is the same. Immediately, he was released. The king had the milk and was saved. And as a result, he even was willing to reward the messenger with a great, great sum. So we see life and death, as King Solomon said, are truly in the tongue.